Right. Hi everyone. Today is 1st of June, new month. We had gone through lower time frame chart and also 1 month chart last time, and we got the big picture as well in mind. I think I didn't see the quarterly chart. I should see that as well for Bitcoin. Yeah, we'll go through it. As usual, we'll start with low time frame and then try to understand the consolidation phase and what is happening within that. Because there are so many patterns forming. If you go higher time frame, there's not much happening. You know that because it's range bound. But when you go lower time frame, it gives you some idea that okay, this is what it is, forming and what could be the next and so on. And once you understand the lower time frame, you can actually extrapolate and then say, okay, if this is the lower time frame pattern and if this is likely to be the outcome of the lower time frame pattern, then how it might pan out for the higher time frame. So it's kind of if you try to derive uh, lower to higher. So that's the method. Because when you look at the top view, for an example, you don't see the details on the street. So you try to first figure out what is happening on the street and the city and so on. So you kind of zoom out, and so all the views are important and all the views have different purposes, especially when higher time frame pattern is range bound, consolidating, moving sideways. Then it is so important to see what is happening at a low time frame. Low time frame is for understanding. I mean, sometimes people think that low time frame for swing traders, especially low time frame, is for understanding. It's not for trading. For day trader, and that's not we aim because we do weekly update and all. So by the time I explain something at a low time frame, it might change next day and so on. But the low time frame is to understand the high time frame. That's why we cover everything when we do the weekly. Right. Okay. So quick recap. This is the first structure and this is the second structure. So the bigger structure is in the orange. And then if I have to dissect, I would dissect this as first structure, the structure above the white line, and then structure above this turquoise line. Now, so let's focus on the current structure. This is 6 hour time frame. So this is rise, dip, rise, dip. Now, this is still going on. The consolidation has expanded, as you can see. So we have to expand this orange box further on the right. I think I have to expand even further. It has to go up to June 10th, or probably a little more, looking at the pattern. Because what happens is, see, if this would have gone up, let's say from here and hitting this circle, it would have been different because then we would have breakout somewhere here, right, in this from this zone. Because of this extra time, we have to ex extend this timeline. We don't have a choice. And this is what I talk about sometimes, that you have to adjust your x-axis, which is time. When the structure changes, you have to refine it. You have to fine tune it. It's like tuning a radio station. Sometimes, you have to use the fine tuner to get the frequency exact. Of course, just a big analogy, but you know what I'm saying. So it's like you have to tune a bit, but it's not that it's out of range. So you always can catch the station like that. Okay. Um, so just this little fine. Okay. Looking at this one, if I had to think about a pattern at a low time frame, this is likely to be an arch with this as a midpoint. Remember, this is like a pattern which we anticipate based on the current structure. And that's why we should put this is, and that gives us what date? 9th of June. Today is 1st of June. So at least 1 week, 10 days, I would say. It would take for it to, you know, have this pattern. Now, of course, you know that if this is broken, if this is broken for any reason, right, then this arch is invalidated. So it's very important that whenever you think about a pattern, you have to think that what is the point of invalidation. So what condition or criteria would break that pattern? Very important. Whether it's head and shoulder, cup and handle, or name it, any pattern you take, there are so many patterns going on. So in pattern analysis, you always figure out there could be multiple patterns at different time frames sometimes, but then you narrow down and say, oh, this is likely to be the pattern. I'll show you another pattern, which is symmetrical pattern. Okay, I think I shown to you earlier. Actually, I posted on our Discord, but I'll again show it to you on the screen. There is symmetrical pattern going on as well, and but let's say right now within that symmetrical pattern, let me show you the symmetrical pattern. Okay, since I talked about basically, this is an arm uh bounce and then down and then up, down, and then this up. So this point and this point, this point and this point, there is sorry, this point kind of symmetrical. See, when you say symmetrical, it's not like a free hand where the left and right, like our body, left and right side is equal, but there's always some kind of, variation. So when I say symmetrical, don't take a literal meaning. It's more like it's not exact shape. Okay, it's not exact mirror image, but when you draw a line like this, vertical line like this, you can imagine, you can visualize that there is a left hand side pattern, there is a right hand side pattern. Roughly you can say this is the low point, this is the low point, and this is the high point, this is the high point. This is how it works. So if you look at it, so this is replica of this is replica of this. Now, and this move is actually replica of this. Now this could go deeper. If this could go deeper, but as I said, it's not exactly the same, because let's say this one was up to this low point of view and this was higher. So that's why it's not exactly the same. Okay, like there was no hump on the right side like this, but this kind of a symmetry. So when you find a symmetry, don't try to find each and every point. Okay, try to get an idea about it. So that's how it works. If you so this can be compared with this, there can be a double one, but then if you expand even further, then this goes down. Means if after reaching here, if it goes down, then still it compares. So you see, I'm just taking hypothetical example, okay, not a literal. If you compare this, so if it creates an arch, it would be comparable to this arch. If it goes down, then it is comparable to this, and then it could go up, then it is comparison to this, and so on. And then if it goes up from here, I'm just hypothetically expanding the pattern. As I said, this symmetrical pattern not necessarily go on up to the full. I mean, the realization might not be for full. Like it can break on the upside and clear out. Similarly, it can break down and kind of clear out. See, so that's the invalidation part. Invalidation positively, invalidation negatively. So if it breaks above and follow the dotted line on the upside, then the realization of this would not happen. And in that case, we can say the pattern is broken. Well, it's broken for good reason. If this goes down and goes down further, and let's say comes down to this level, then also the pattern, symmetrical pattern, is broken. But that is more on a negative side. So that's the difference. But this is what we do when we identify the pattern. We try to try to come up with the potential path using the pattern. That's the whole idea. The pattern gives us the potential path and the boundary. Okay. And when you follow that boundary, it helps us understand the consolidation. Not necessarily. So what are the takeaway? One is you have to identify the probable pattern. As I said, probable pattern. It's not that certain. Probable pattern, and then try to find out endpoints. When you find endpoints, means important points where it gives the shape to the point. Like rectangle, the shape is given, the rectangle shape comes with the 4 points, and the square has also 4 points, but you know that two sides of the rectangle is longer. That's why it's called rectangle, right? So those points determine whether the pattern is rectangle or square, though there are 4 points. There are endpoints, but then you decide what is the length and breadth and all. So endpoints gives you the shape of the pattern and the boundary that way. And using those endpoint, you try to determine whether the pattern is continuing. If the pattern is continuing, then you extrapolate and say what if the pattern expands further, like what I shown to you, then you try to figure out that what might be the next one. Okay. And as I said, any point in time, there is no rule as such. Any point in time, it can invalidate positively or negatively. If it goes up in this case, then it would invalidate positively. If it goes down further and comes to this yellow level, right, then it basically, yeah, it invalidates negatively. So I hope I made it clear. So you have that understanding. So now I'm focusing on this arch, and let's say from arch it breaks out, and we don't want it to go down neither from here and from here, right? So that's why, to make the life simple, when it is here, we are also always have to think about when it is here, what would the point of invalidation? And I think I covered last time that 65K, 60K range. Let's say this is the range 65, 64,400, because you see this structure is on top of this line. So for this structure to be broken, I would say, okay, can I have a line which is 64,500, right? Approximately as my point of monitoring, which makes sense because if it comes down, we will say that at least this setup is broken. Not necessarily the level at 64,500 would break the overall setup. So you see the point. So you can say the pattern would deform, right? Or but it would not necessarily invalidate. It will invalidate only if it comes down to this level, because this is extreme level where there is no symmetry as such. But if it comes down to this level, or even this level, we can say, oh, okay, there is no hump like this and that. So that's why even if you identify the pattern, the pattern is to just give you some kind of a clue. Remember, it's not like a map. It's not like a Google map or Apple map or any kind of map where you get the navigation, each and every route and each and every, left and right and whatever. It's not like that. But it's just to give you an idea that how it might shape up. So the patterns are only for clues. What is important ultimately is the what level. So you use the patterns and try to find out that what levels I must monitor. So at a lower time frame, which is very, very volatile, as you know, I would monitor 64,500, because then I would confirm if this is broken. When I say broken, that means not just a spike. Remember, sometimes there can be a violent. So always when you look at it, 6 hour, for example, in this case, I would wait for 6 hour to complete, because if there is a breakdown, then I would like to see how it closes. So this is another thing, and that's why you always have to see line chart for clarity. When you look at the line chart, actually the symmetrical pattern is more evident. As I said, only that this hump is not all the way up but down. That's the difference. You see, you can easily find out, right? But you get the clarity when you track the closing prices like this. So use this line with markers. Marker will give you that those dots, means when you zoom, you have to zoom in. to see the dots. These dots are basically closing price for each day. Very useful, because these lows and spikes on the up and down side, wicks we call, right? Candle wicks. Those are noisy sometimes, in consolidation phase, especially very noisy. And they might not give you clarity here. Okay, now, yeah. So I told you about the immediate level, which is important. And if it comes below this one, of course, it's not good, because then it's like very weak, and in that it becomes vulnerable, actually vulnerable to the downside. But again, as I said, even if that happens, no one can conclude that it is going to go down, right? But yeah, if it breaks below this setup, then I would not like it, right? Then that would be bad, because the whole entire consolidation will go against it, right? But at this moment, as I say, though I discuss about the scenarios, it's very important the probability. So the possibility, there's always difference between the possibilities and probabilities. Possibilities, when we talk about various scenarios, like upside scenario or downside scenarios, we're using different patterns and point of invalidation, as I explained. But then you have to take a side and say, where is the probability? So if the probability is 60% or higher, that is a higher probability on that side. If we sometime we can say it is 50-50, then we are kind of neutral, right? So I would say 40 to 60% probability is as a neutral zone, because there is no exact 50%, right? It's always about a range. If I say it is between 60 to 80, that means has high probability, and anything above 80 is like near certainty. There is no absolute certainty, right? So there's near certainty. We can talk about that. Okay, I don't see anything but this, that kind of a thing. So I would right now I would put 60 to 80 kind of range, where I would say the probability is higher on the upside, which is totally a clear direction, or I would say stand. Though we talk about different scenarios, there is a clear stand. But can I say it is 80% above? No. When can I say? I can say 80% only if it comes to this level. Now, things could go, go like there could be surprises at any point in time. But as far as probability is concerned, you have to upgrade the probability. So the idea is the probabilities are not set in stone. Okay. And in life also, nothing is certain. Not everything is certain, but you go by the best of information and try to see. And we always find some challenges, even though we have planned, even though we thought that this is likely to happen, it happens, and that's life. So unfavorable event occurs no matter what. So but the idea is to find the highest probable outcome based on information. That means the idea is to win 6 to 8 times out of 10. This is the right way to put. If we win 10 out of 10, that's nothing. I mean, that's amazing. I mean, it's perfect. But the world is not perfect. The life is not perfect. There's always imperfection, because not everything is in our hand, right? Whether you call as some a heavenly thing, or you name anything attached with religion or anything, whatever, right? Depends on your belief system. But the point is there are uncertainty, and I call the factor of uncertainty is always there no matter what. But the idea is to minimize the uncertainties. That's the goal. Sometimes people think that this is a prediction tool, and I said no, this is for managing the risk. And you try to find out what is the highest probable, or probable scenarios, so the occurrence of failure can be reduced. That's the goal. The focus is the occurrence, total number of occurrence. So if I'm winning 6 out of 6 to 8 times, out of 10, that means my net winning rate is higher than the failure rate. And that is the goal in my point of view. And that's how I see. So this is more pragmatic and realistic approach than anyone says that TA is a predictive tool. It's not. Okay. We have to really work hard. It's not easy, and things are not set in stone. So my coming back to my point that when we determine, so if I'm determining that the probability is in range of 60 to 80, if it goes I'll upgrade. It's like any other system. For an example, you see the bond rating, or and credit rating of individual, like you know that credit score and all in the US is very common, maybe another country similar system. So if our credit history is good, our rating is good. uh and if we do something silly, it goes down. But later on, if we do something good, then it improves. So basically it doesn't care about you, it cares about what you do. So similarly, you have to uh, give the number, you know to the situation, to the present. Okay, yes, you can say that my credit history is superior for 5 years. That tells that it is likely to be superior, which is trend analysis. So going beyond crypto, going beyond any asset-based trend analysis, what we do, I mean, we do this every day. That's my point. And it happens in each area, different areas, that we always do trend analysis, whether it's about health or any other example that I would give. It's always say, okay, if the person, let's say even behavior of the person, if you know someone for 10 years, you know that how that person might behave, but doesn't mean that he or she would behave something differently, somehow differently, right? So there's always unpredictability of unsurprising factor always. But even if that unpredictable occurrence I mean, you come across such kind of unpredictable event occurrence, you don't try to say that. So for example, somebody is very nice for 10 years, but one day he is bitter, but you don't tag him. What you do is, okay, might be something wrong with him. That's what you do. And then you see, you give more time. If second time happens, then you say, oh, there's something wrong with him, but you still give a chance, and so on. So the point is, you don't try to judge a person and try to erase the history or his good deeds. You give enough time before you tag him, and then if that person continue to be bitter, for example, then of course you change your stand. So we do this whether it's a behavioral thing or any other materialistic thing. We always do trend analysis knowingly or unknowingly. Okay, the same principles are applied here, but the methods are different. How we do is different. But objectively, if you look at it, this is what human beings are doing in each and every aspect, whether it's as I said, material or non-material. Non-material, I mean the behavioral thing, feelings, and all those emotional thing. There are trends in that as well, right? And there are trends in materialistic thing, like actual actions and all. So, um, so coming back to this one, so if it changes, it doesn't mean that the whole entire trend is ruined. You have to find out what level. So as I said, if it comes down to this, you'll say, oh, this is something odd. If it come breaks below that, this is this the occurrence of this odd event is kind of repeating, and it's like kind of worsening or weakening further. And then and it goes down further. Then one fine day you will say, ah, this is too much, this is no good. So this is very important, right? So when the trend is on the upside, uh, if the immediate major support is broken, it is not a done deal, or you don't conclude, as I said, on a behavioral example, right? You don't tag that person that this person is bad. But then you see, oh, if it is happening again and again, then you'll say there's something wrong with him, and you kind of tag him. But one period in time, you will be neutral, you know so good guy to neutral and then bad guy. It never happens that a good guy for 10 years become bad guy in just one instance. That's my point. So similarly, if the trend is up trend is strong, it doesn't make the trend bad or reverse in just because the immediate support is broken or showing weakness in a short time, right? So that's my point. So if the bull run is going on since November of 2022, November, December, let's say 1 month, 2 month, 3 months of weakness, and this is not even weakness because this consolidation is happening on 70K level. This consolidation is not happening at 50K level. Remember, there's a huge difference between these two. So I'm talking about people who think that this consolidation is sign of weakness, and I am saying no. This consolidation is not happening in 50K range. If it is happening in 50K range, then it's a sign of weakness. But this is not. This consolidation is happening on 60K plus level. So it's not sign of weakness, but very positive. So you see the difference. So just because I think sometimes what I feel that when the consolidation goes on for very long, people tend to people tend to conclude because they get so bored and frustrated because desired outcomes doesn't come. That's why they get bored, and that's why they try to conclude. And also there's so many negative news going on, and I think one of the main reasons there is a lot of noise in the social media with respect to different events, right? And when they hear all the negative stuff, especially in this phase, there are more negative news than the positive news, right? Even the ETFs have launched. There is no major pump, whether it's Bitcoin or ETF. When I say major means consistent pump. And so people get disappointed. People have always, I mean, they're facing bad news mainly for last 3 months or so. Um, Inflation related, war related, or whatnot, right? All the commentaries like are negative more on, but they have to see is that despite of all, what is happening to the trend? But the focus, if the focus is on trend, then it actually helps a lot. We cannot do anything about the range bound activity, and one has to take a note that this range bound activity is actually positive, and especially currently the consolidation is happening on the upper side, not the lower side, as I mentioned early. If the consolidation is happening somewhere here, that's bad sign, extremely bad sign, because then we are talking about potential breakdown, and such a huge consolidation here would actually bring down the price much lower in 40s. That is bad. But surprisingly, yesterday I mentioned that even if that happens, it's so funny that, of course, that's not good, right? But then also it doesn't change the trend. Okay. So at this moment, I don't want to talk about any scenario that is bearish because it's not happening. When it happens, when the price comes down to this, I'll open a call and update you about that. At this moment, when I look at 1 day, we get more clarity. And this, if this is the midpoint, then this arch has to be complete and goes to this level, which would take a week or so. And then we should have breakout. As I said, we have to always fine tune and see if the pattern is still in progress. So what I would conclude on a low time frame is there are the whole entire, this is range bound movement within this, and this is and then there are two segments. This is the first one, this is the second one. This was broken, it was deep but not deep enough, which would threaten. And then this is second structure above this line, this is still good. If this goes down, then there is a pattern, which what pattern? It's very simple. Then there is a potential head and shoulder pattern. I'll show you how. Okay, if remember, if, okay, probability is low at this moment. If this is realized, just in case, then this becomes the head, potential head. Again, as I mentioned, that you don't conclude this is head and shoulder unless the right shoulder is complete. Remember, you can say this 60% of the pattern is complete, something like that. One, because this is, let's say, 1/3, this is 2/3, and then a remaining 1/3. So that is a fair understanding. This is like 50%, and 50% is nowhere near to any kind of conclusion. If this head is formed, then you can 2/3. Then there is a probability of shoulder to be, complete. But again, in that case, the shoulder has to be complete like this. for you to say that, okay, if this is complete and then you wash this neckline, if this has formed and if it breaks below like that, then sometime it can go up to this level and still it can retest this level and go up. It's so crazy, I know, but that is so risky, because if this is also broken, if this zone broken, as I said, then this could really go deeper, like in 48K or something, R5 kind of a level, which we don't have to talk about it at this moment. And the funny part is, even that happens, it doesn't break the trend. That's the funny part. Okay. I'll talk about it. There is a risk for sure, but not necessarily it'll break the trend. But I don't want to cover that part because that's far-fetched. At this moment, I think understanding that if this is broken, then this is a potential head of the head and shoulder, which is negative, right? So that is good enough for us. And then we have to wash out if the right shoulder is formed. If right shoulder is formed, then will have to be even more careful, because then this could lead to major downside move, right? So at this moment, I would remove this, but remember, we have to add it just in case this line is broken, right? As of now, as I said, my 60 to 80% probability is for this arch to be complete. That means this circle, that circle is just a approximate zone to understand that this is where it should get out. We had to shift it. Remember, we had to shift it because the patterns are each time it dips, we have to because each time it dips, it delays and we have to shift it. So I hope you get the clarity on low time frame one day. Now let's look at weekly. Weekly things are very simple. Last 2 weeks we had green candles. This was amazing. This was the lifesaver. Remember, this was the lifesaver because it made new low, but not close. This is the point I was making, that even though this week was the worst, it is not the worst. Actually, the worst week was this next word, because it had lower close. When you look at this one, you should look at the closing price. See, this week, 6th of May is the worst. When I say worst means not for the trend level, just to clarify, worst within this consolidation zone. Okay, when you compare this movement within this zone, this week was the worst. So the point I'm trying to make here is, the from a low point of view, this seems the worst, but if you ask me, this was not the worst. This was the worst because it had a closing below this one, right? So from entire pattern point of view, the low point was here, not here. Many people put a lot of emphasis on the low. I don't. My focus really, for explanation, of course, we have to look at everything, but time again and again, I switch back to closing price chart always, because closing price chart is the chart that one must keep in mind for to understand the trend. If you don't refer price, closing price, you are you are restricting yourself to the truth. I would say, I would go up to that extent and say that you're restricting yourself to the truth. So the closing price is utmost important when you understand the trend. Okay, so this week is red, but this is not red in a way that it breaks. So from candle analysis point of view, if this candle week basically breaks or closes below this prior low, then that's bad. I don't see that happening. 2 days are left, very low probability. So even if this, we would say this, we had a flat week, right? So this is absolutely acceptable. Not desirable, but not a threat, right? This is how I would portray. And when you zoom out and when you look at the trend, absolutely fantastic, because this is the point where it said I don't want to go down, and then this was a consolidation on the upside. Remember, the consolidation happened on a three direction, not always horizontal. It can happen at certain angle at an upside, and sometimes it's descending. Sometimes it's ascending, sometimes it's descending. with slight angle, 20 degree, not 45 degree. It's always below 45 degree. So that is consolidation. If it is 45 degree or above, then it cannot be categorized as consolidation. Then it is like upside move, right? But this whole entire pattern can be categorized as uh, ascending consolidation. I don't know whether there's a formal name, but I would like to call it. If there's no name, I would prefer to call that way. If there is name, fine. And then this consolidation is horizontal, as you could see. This consolidation is also horizontal. It's neither like on upside or downside. These are low points, more or less in the same vicinity, similar range. So I would say this is still a box, right? And so on. So this is so strong. I mean, when you look at it, and we have to hide all this drawing sometimes, as I mentioned, this is happening, consolidation is happening here. Now, when you look at the closing price, you have to keep on looking at, look at this closing price. This closing price is about the 2021 highest closing. This is highest closing. I'm not talking about highest closing. So yeah, this dip is where we had to be watchful. But right now, if it made a new closing, as I mentioned earlier, people keep on focusing on highs. It's important, but closing is more important in my book. This is already this is already at a higher closing price compared to this one. So this is amazing. This is amazing. But if it closes below this, it's not good. You know that, right? Right. So if even if it comes down to 60K from a closing point of view, it's acceptable. So because if it comes down to up to 60K closing price point of view, we can say, okay, this is a retest and maybe a W shape kind of a pattern and then goes up. If you look at this also goes down, up, and then retest this close. If you monitor the low, you're not going to get this. But when you look at this one, you get the double bottom. Remember, this is double bottom, right? And then you got an amazing move on the upside, right? With one tiny consolidation. So what if, as just a scenario point of view, even if it comes down to 60K, it doesn't change anything. But yeah, if it closes below 60K, then that's something we have to be watchful, because then we don't know. Then the descending level, I mean, descending consolidation is not preferable, as you can see. I mean, nobody would like it, because then it adds uncertainty, right? I would say, if I want to go further, and I would simply measure and say, okay, this is my closing time frame. And that gives me actually the good level as far as trend is concerned. If the orange line is broken, then the trend is done. So 48K, if the 48K, 46K is taken, if the 46K is taken, then this trend is key. Trend starts on the trend would reverse on a weekly basis. Huh? Okay, weekly closes is important. So below 46K is not good at all. Then it's done. But there are a lot of other nuances. I must not say done. I would say that's near highest probability of reversing. I should say, because there are other elements I have to figure out that point in time if it happens. Again, this is the probability is very low. This is just more. Sometimes I end up doing academic discussion for sharing the knowledge, that because if I had to just explain what is happening, I have explained it. But sometimes I add for education point of view. In fact, a lot of things are education point of view, not just few things. And that helps you, because if you understand different scenarios, then you would know at least that how I'm thinking as a TA, right? And my thought process is a way to convey the knowledge. That's how that's my approach. It's a bit unconventional approach, but if you keep on watching my videos, I believe you end up learning a lot of TAs. So I don't have chapters wise. pat this chapter belongs to this pattern, this chapters belong to this volume or whatever, different aspects. I don't do that. My every week it's like discourse. You come, you'll end up learning something, and over time you accumulate so much knowledge that you feel comfortable and you feel empowered. That's the whole idea. This is the way music is taught in India, classical music, by the way, in oral tradition. There is no syllabus. Okay. So this is my benchmark. If this is broken, then I would be concerned as far as trend is concerned. Okay. So I don't care at this moment. It's here, as I said. So this is absolutely fantastic setup. Okay, what else? I think I don't we can quickly look at monthly without drawings. See the monthly not even red. Okay. I know the month, I mean this last month ended up in green, right? This was the bad one. This one, because of that bounce that I mentioned weekly, it survived and ended up with a green. Of course, it tried to break above, but it's okay. And this is still green. And this month has to be taken out. Remember, this month has to be taken out. For example, when you see the closing, this closing is much below this one opening. That's bad. Right? That's really bad. This was not bad. This was bad. This was bad. You see my point? So like that. Even this was nasty. Actually, it ended up closing here. When you focus on lows, it doesn't give you any clue. If this is very important, I think this is COVID drop, you know that. So let me show you on the closing price. So when you look at the closing price, it made new low, of course, but it's not that bad when you look at the closing price. But when you look at the low point of view, it's bad. So it's very different point of view. So this is more like a retest as if you look at it, and then so W kind of a shape and goes up similarly. Yeah, in that case. So coming back to the current month, it's already green now, and it has to do a lot. I mean, it has to break 60K. It has to close below 60K to be really go bad. And below 56K, I would say confirm it is bad. So it is far away from that level. That's why I'm not worried as far as trend is concerned. Okay, so that's I think I covered everything on this. Let's look at DXY. Oh, I had to cover the quarterly because the quarter ended, right? So the quarter ended very well, I would say. So this is April. This is a new quarter. Look at this one. This is the March. Oh, my bad. What am I doing? The quarter ends this month. My bad. Sorry. So let me go back. I think I made a mistake. I fast forwarded myself. So we'll look at quarterly next month, right? This month and basically. So I think this is good enough. Let's go to DXY. So DXY is going down, no doubt. There's no doubt. This is dotted scenario. Remember, dotted scenario is less probable, less likely to happen. This solid line is this is where I have to adjust the trajectory a bit. As you know, the angle has to be retuned. Okay, otherwise will not give us a correct projection. But yeah, so DXY could form head and shoulder. I hope you are able to visualize it. Sometime I had to leave as a question for you to think. Otherwise, there's no fun, right? Because otherwise it's spoon feeding. So I would not say where is the head and shoulder, potential head and shoulder. You have to figure it out. I think I'd mentioned as well. I probably posted as well somewhere. But anyway, I'm not going to tell. Just purposefully. So one you can think about it, and then there are clues here actually. Um, right. So this is simpler version. This is still at a level where on the upper side it will put BTC under pressure, and below BTC would feel good. Very simple approach. Very simple. Uh, above pressure on BTC, lower relief. Very simple to understand. And again, this is huge consolidation within this trend is going on. You can add one more line if you want, like this, and show that okay, this trend within this is in progress, and we would like this week to be close below this. Then we'll feel good. That means 203 would be amazing. 203.8 is also very actually good. 203.8. Sorry, what am I saying? 103.8. My bad. 103.8 is awesome. Then because then the upper structure will break. Closing. I'm talking about closing, not the intra-week. Closing has to be 103.8. Right. And so you know what pattern will emerge out of that if that happens probability wise. Yeah. And that will be good. So even if it moves from here to here, I'm telling you that is going to be a big boost in a month. And if you note, I think I mentioned out of so many weeks, 8% of the time, only BTC moved 90% of, um, I would say 8% of the week made 90% of the progress. That means there are, if there around 120 weeks, only there were 10 weeks where it made 90% plus 95%, I would say, in terms of price action. So if you miss those 10 weeks, you miss 95% of BTC move, in other words. Simple. So that's how it is. So this kind of a downside move could give the boost where BTC could go to 100K. Very simple. And then it could consolidate there as well for weeks. And then think about the next move and so on. But the way the BTC is moving is it consolidates long, and when it comes to upside movement, it covers the ground on a brink of a, I would not second on, but point is it's quick, very quick. Like if there is a few weeks of consolidation within a week or two, like as I said, around 8 to 10% of the time it takes for another leg up. But 90% of the time, approximately, is for consolidation and correction. So very, very challenging if you don't know TA. Okay. So I think this is good enough. We can have a quick look at Treasury. Oh, this is Nifty. Oh, man, no bad. Nasdaq, sorry. These days I'm looking at Indian market a lot, so the Nifty index came to my mind. Yeah, this is Nasdaq. This is our Treasury. Um, this is the path, but we have to retune the path. I mean, realign the path. Ah, I think I should not go beyond this. So it tried to break above here, but not quite successful yet. Hmm? This is an attempt. You see, this is beautiful. This is very positive. This was like middle of the week. This was terrible actually, but when the week ended, this is much better because this is kind of pushback. Remember, this is pushback, but not rejection. It has to return back to this orange zone to be you know, to start. So then we can say, okay, now it is weakening. Ultimately, we would like this to happen. So lot, I think there's more. It has to go down further. Yeah, so this is still strong. This is still strong. But yeah, it's strong, but not strong enough where we can say it is going up. It has to break this. So since it's not, it hasn't broken. So I would say it's like in a zone of 50% neutral zone at this moment. So that gives the BTC upper hand. Now talking about fundamentals, macroeconomic. So this is a very important reference data like DXY and uh, bond market. Then another data came up, PCE data, US PCE data, that is secondary, not, I mean, inflation data, but different methodology. And those data are aligned with market expectation. And that's a positive news. But when you look at the numbers are not rosy by any means because the inflation is sticky. So that is the point of concern. The inflation is going up. The rate is stable. But sometimes people mix up two things. If the inflation is let's say up by 0.2%, inflation rate is 0.2%, that means, and last month and this month is also inflation rate is 0.2%. That means the rate is increasing. I mean, the inflation is increasing. Sorry. The rate is same, but the inflation is increasing. The inflation we can say going down only if the rate is negative, then only. So because any the rate, if the rate is positive, the inflation is increasing. Very simple. But sometimes people misquote it. When the inflation rate is same, they think that the inflation has stopped. It's not like that. The rate means the acceleration has stopped. So it's like you are driving at 50 miles per hour. After in next hour, if you are driving at 50 miles per hour, you're not accelerating. Means the rate is not changing. It's the same. But your speed is still 50, means the inflation is still up higher. If not, so you cannot say it's going down. It's still high. So that's why the speed, if the speed is same, we can say the inflation is the same, right? And if the speed increases, that means it is accelerating, then inflation is accelerating. So I think people mix up two things, the acceleration and speed. So the acceleration is the rate part and the speed is the inflation part, right? And people mix up. The inflation is rising month over month, year over year. There is no doubt about it. But the rate is kind of contained. So I think it's very important that we understand that and do not mix up. Even Biden is making mistake. I don't know, I mean, what to expect because he's saying the inflation has gone down. Inflation is not going down. Like if you're driving at 50 miles per hour, but next hour, if you drive less than 50 miles per hour, then you can say your inflation uh, has gone down because then rate is kind of negative with respect to the last hour. And if that has to continue 40s, then 30 and 20, and then you can say it is decelerating. The deceleration will, but it doesn't mean that the inflation has to be negative for inflation to reverse. So that is not going to happen. But the expectation is the deceleration. Right now, the inflation rate is sticky. So when the rate reduces, then it is deceleration. But deceleration is not doesn't mean that the inflation is reducing. So this is very important. But deceleration is a good news. Right now, we are not seeing deceleration for 3 months, 4 months. That's the issue. but market is cheering on the fact that it's not accelerating. So we had 9% inflation, it is now under 4. So the market is cheering that it is not going beyond 4. That and so market is happy about that. Okay. I think this is enough on BTC reference data and other macro factors. Let's look at the altcoins quickly. EPT try to break above. It's okay. So this is still good. Formidable position, I would say. There's no sign of weakness. So this is an attempt to break out, which is positive. BCH, this arch is still valid. I would say this is a midpoint. This arch will have to be removed if this it closes below this level. Okay, especially this level 430 or something like that. Let's say 425. Then that's not good. At this moment, this is totally fine. Oh, by the way, I removed BSV. So what you can do is you can suggest me. I'm actually thinking to change the whole entire format. I'll announce. I haven't decided, but as I said, I'm not taking new subscriber for many reasons. But and about closing this channel, I think I'm not going to go extreme, but trying to come up with some other solution I haven't finalized. But my idea is maybe what if I don't make it at a fixed time that allows gives me flexibility, and maybe I'm thinking that instead of 15 fixed coin, maybe you guys vote. We'll just say 5 coins. What my idea is, every month you vote for coins, and whatever like top 5 coins, I'll take those 5 coins and analyze it. That's what I'm thinking. So in I'll continue this format, but instead of closing this channel, I'm thinking that what if I continue, but you consider as closed, but then it's like kind of added free service, so to speak, because I won't be charging. So that way it becomes flexible for me, and also same time you will be in touch with me that way. So we don't dismantle the community, in short. And the same time you will get analysis, but not necessary. So for an example, if I'm busy today, Saturday, I open this call exact at same time, right? Without fail. I haven't taken any break ever since I started. Like this is like going to be the 5th year. So the 4.5 years, no break time. Even if I'm on vacation, I would not miss any call or update. That's my commitment. But I need little break. Because I've been doing this without any break. It is taking toll on me. So that's why I was thinking to stop it, but then I thought maybe I don't stop it, but kind of slow down. In that case, if not 10 o'clock my time on Saturday, what if I give the update? Let's say if not Saturday, Sunday, little flexible. That way, I'm not committed for exact time, and I'm not committed, but still engaged. So no commitment, but still active engagement. That kind of model I'm thinking. So in that case, we are still connected, and still I'm available on with community. And some if there are any major events, I can still open a call and chat with you guys. But that is going to be non it is going to be contractual, because I share information, but not from financial point of view. I think that's what I'm thinking, general, and I'm not bounded that way. So that kind of model I'm thinking that way. I think that seems reasonable. Anyway, so that I'll announce it. I'm still thinking, but I just shared what I thought. Whatever is going on in my mind. Okay, so the Doge is still about this. So this is fine. Ethereum is making move. right? It's 1% today, very good looking chart, amazing last week. And so this is ETF is approved. I hope the liquidity comes. So this is near breakout level. And again, this is very heavy resistance zone until all-time high. You know that this is hotspot. Basically, this is if why I mean it's so evident. It's so evident that this is a hotspot. Look at that, this area. Now, when you look at this area, you have to look at the big picture. Maybe I have too many drawings, but it's okay. I'm you should be able to see it. Point of rejection, rejection, rejection. You see, so this is hotspot in this zone. So naturally, it takes time. So not just here, but it'll take some time for it to break above. But once this is broken above, let me tell you that people talk about 10K. I said, are you kidding? It's not 10K, but more. Okay, that's what I feel. If it is taking time, pattern suggests that this could go on for a couple of weeks. I don't know. At this moment, it seems like that. But as we can see that it is doing nothing, especially when you track the closing price, you would understand that this is kind of dipping, but not so much. Especially this week, it actually made trying to make, but let's say still the week is not closed, right? But still, it's like flat, like doing nothing. So that's why it's totally fine. So closing price, do not forget, very important. Okay, so this guy, like pattern point of view, this is head. Okay, but unless the right shoulder is not complete, which doesn't look like because it's totally deformed one. Usually it goes up, but this seems very different. But sometimes there can be variation. So this chart is still weak, I would say. Okay, Filecoin. And the chart, this Filecoin has to break above 8 plus 8.1. Yeah, above 8. You see, then only we can say that then it doesn't want to go down. I would say this is still weak. Okay, so if I had to categorize, this is a weak coin. Weak doesn't mean this is in ICU, by the way. So I you know that, right? Weak doesn't mean it's in ICU. Weak means it's under treatment, right? But not on oxygen or ventilator, not like that, right? Not critical in short. So it's important. So if it breaks above close above 8, then we'll say the recovery is in a positive side, and once it comes out, then nice and healthy. FTM is telling me that it will take whole entire June month before it may start moving up. The pattern is telling me, okay, that means this consolidation could go on for long. Somewhere in July, it might make move purely based on the configuration that I see. So this has to be shifted. What can we do? Can't do much. That's how it is. Excuse me. I didn't remove this INJ's line. There was an attempt. I had to keep this for reference because, as I said, this kind of lines are for visualization, not for decision makings. So this gives us good view that there were attempt. This is still okay, and we would like to see a nice breakout on the upside and then do something good. But still, INJ is very strong as far as old trend is concerned. I don't see any weakness at this moment. But yeah, if this is taken out, then that's no good. So far, so good. Then the next one is KAS. Last week was awesome. This is very positive. My screen is dancing. I don't know why. It's flickering some reason. Okay. So this is good, not bad at all. And last week was especially very good. Okay, so K is showing strength. Link is looking strong, very strong. This week, R4. This is still good, very good. In fact, this, so you see, this is invalidated. What is invalidated? It is close to invalidation, by the way. And remember, I didn't put the right side arch. I said this left arch, right, but this pattern is not complete. If this would have gone down from here and landed here, then only the head and shoulder would have realized, probabilistically. Okay. This is invalidation. This is invalidation. This is further confirmation. And once it goes out, forget about head and shoulder. We're talking about new high. It's very important that one cannot call out prematurely, otherwise end up making mistake. Tracking is important, invalidation is important, point of invalidation is important. So link, I would put the link coin at one of the top 3 in the list at this moment. Very strong coin, showing strength basically after extremely long consolidation. If you look at it, it has been consolidating for months. Render coin is nice and steady, very strong coin, one of the top 3 in terms of strength. So my screen is going here. I don't know. See, it's blinking. Good that we are very end to our session. So this week, Rune, not a not a pleasant one, but it's okay. So it's within the range, so it's okay. But yeah, not pleasant. But and especially it's above the white line, so I'm not concerned. But yeah, some weakness, but not a big deal. So this is still a big long consolidation like Link coin. Very similar to Link setup actually. If you compare both this one, Rune coin and Link coin, you will find similarity. That's something for you. If you're enthusiast, take that as homework. I would say so. See, SOL is also similar. Okay, very similar, but a little stronger. It is here. So this is looking amazingly well. This is for very strong position, but it is not out of consolidation, not at all. TIA is done with the bottom. I think I mentioned that this was the capitulation, right? And I don't advise, but if you pay attention, you will understand. Once you understand the patterns and behavior and so on, you'll understand that when to grab opportunity. And the whole entire consolidation, I have been telling that this is like a child of this parent. So this is not a threat, right? It comes down to validate this level range sometime, within this range. And now you see this is the last week was the, I mean, this is where it said I don't want to go down, and this is where it says I want to go up. You see the narrative. This bounce said I went down enough. This says, okay, I'm still within the range. This candle says I don't want to go down further, and this candle is saying I want to go up. You see the wording there. That's it. let's simplify let's simplify the TA. You don't need to know resistance. Okay, so it wants to go up. That's what simple mean, and that ends the session. Okay, so I think I covered a lot of things. I believe I covered everything that I wanted. But if you think that some topics need to be covered, then you add your comments on the chat so I can consider them for the next session. Until then, thank you. Goodbye. See you next time.